Hey, this is Seth with In Demand Career. I show people how to get life-changing jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about, is a business degree worth it? I'm actually going to interview one of my students, Florian, who is making between $45 and $85 an hour part-time as a copywriter, using digital skills he acquired from my course and from his own online education while he was majoring in business, learning nothing about digital marketing. And he just graduated, and he's going to give you real insight about what he learned in his business degree, the classes, and if it was worth it or relevant at all. So I'm very excited to have this conversation. Thanks for being here, Florian.
Yeah, of course. Ready to spill some secrets.
Awesome. So first off, like right out of the gate, was your business administration degree worth it?
Well, I wish I could tell you yes, but as always, no. I'm going to say realistically, it was definitely not worth it for what you pay.
Yeah. So let's get into that in some more detail. Now, I know you started out as an engineering major. You realized that wasn't for you. You changed over to business. So why don't you kind of tell people, like, why wasn't it worth it? Like what, people still believe a business major is worth it. You had a great experience because now you're actually, you got real world skills. You're actually making money. Most of your classmates have never worked a job at all. But tell people a little bit about your program and like, what is it that makes you say that it wasn't, worth it, quote unquote?
Yeah, so I'll tell you. So I went to a school called Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and this school brands itself as a learn by doing school, which means they're supposedly more hands-on than other universities, right? And I would say actually that's true. They're probably more hands-on than 95% of the other universities in the country. But as I'm about to tell you, that's not really going to mean that much. And so here's what I'll say. So basically, as a business major, the first 2 years, you're going to take basics, theory stuff, macroeconomics, microeconomics. You're going to take financial accounting and learn how to do actual, debit and credits, things that softwares do for you nowadays, but you have to go into class and learn how to manually do this stuff, even though a software does it now, right? Which, if they just shorten that class being like, hey, this is how you read a financial statement, this is how you can interpret it, this is what all this means, that would have been enough. But instead, they spent most of the class teaching us how to do something that a software already does today. And so that was, your first 2 years, right? You're learning mostly theory and just things like that software already does today.
Yeah. And hold your thought, Florian. I just want to jump in for a second. This is perfect. Because, guys, you may have seen some of my other videos. I actually get into the actual curriculum and you said it right away. I didn't even have to prompt you for it. Macroeconomics and financial accounting. This is most people majoring in business want to do what you're doing. They want to get a job or, a high income skill set or even start a business. And to spend 2 years on theoretical stuff like macroeconomics and to learn an outdated approach, like you said, these colleges are so outdated and they're being taught by older people who are not current and they're in an academic bubble. So I think it's really interesting that, you could have QuickBooks or some other software doing these things for you. I mean, you obviously want to learn the basics of the theory behind it, but I mean, I don't see why it would take you 2 years or a semester to get some of this stuff or to spend this time on these theoretical classes. So you have to remember that, guys, when you do any academic major, like business major, you're going to spend, that's 2 years, guys. I mean, you've been conditioned that, oh yeah, you should spend 4 years in college. But dude, you could do so much more during that time, like you did, taking my course and learning copywriting, than you will in an academic environment. So that's my 2 cents on that. Go back. So you were saying you were learning the crediting and debiting, it was very, very inefficient. Yeah. What else? Tell us more about the curriculum and everything.
Yeah, again, fundamentals of corporate finance, things like that, basic stuff. Marketing. The marketing stuff was actually pretty funny because they, in that class, we were just doing marketing, like written marketing reports. And there was no mention of anything digital marketing at all. And again, it's like the basic classes too, right? But they teach you like the 3 Ps, the 4 Ps, right? all this like really old marketing stuff.
What are the 3 Ps? People don't know what that is.
It's like product, promotion, place, and one other thing. I mean, it's not relevant to me now, but again, it's like you can look it up. It's like, you know, things like that. And you just learn a bunch of theory about everything. And
I just want to zero in on the marketing thing, because you're bringing up some great stuff. So with the like, do you get a sense of like, were they, what kind of advertising were they talking about? They weren't talking about digital. What were they talking about?
Okay, well, they did touch on digital, but again, it's a beginner class, so they're not actually going to tell you how. They're not going to teach you how to do it. They're just saying, "Oh, it exists," right? Companies are doing this, but they're not going to, like, you just memorize that for the test, right? They're not going to tell you. They're not going to expect you to actually do something in digital marketing,
but
especially
were they
not
also,
in that kind of class.
Were they talking about other like traditional advertising?
Oh yeah,
like newspaper and radio and TV. Like what specifically did they, I'm always curious about this. What specific, like,
I mean, yeah, I mean, that class, like you just learn. I mean, yeah, there were things about radio and TV and things like that. And it's kind of almost like you're learning just the history of marketing and just, you know, what companies used to do, what they're doing now. But again, it's more of like you're just kind of getting lectured to, right? You're not really being asked to do anything. You're just being asked to memorize stuff, and then maybe have a project and make a marketing report at the end. But again, it's like you're not actually doing anything real, right? You're just making a report, and it's not really like you're not doing anything real in the real world.
Absolutely. And again, you said this was supposed to be a quote unquote hands-on school. I'm like,
well, and okay, I'll get to that. But
right. But I'm telling you guys, I mean, listen, this is what's so crazy about it is that, like I said, when you take an online course like mine, people are like asking me all these questions like, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? Really detailed. And you go to college and they just throw you say, yeah, $5,000 for this course, $5,000 for that course. I don't really care if it's relevant. We don't know. They're teaching this outdated stuff like marketing reports, PDFs, the history of marketing. I mean, you could learn that from reading some articles on Wikipedia or Google in 2 minutes, you know, I mean, or I don't know, a day, but you really don't want to be focusing on the history, right? Because that's why these colleges, you know, well, you said radio, TV, dude, that shit's over. You know, it's been declining forever, or for the last 20 years. And you know, my buddy was going to do an MBA program in one place, and I remember they were like, yeah, one of our big case studies is Kodak. Do you know Kodak? Do you know the company?
They went, yeah, they're old. Yep.
They're old. That's perfect for a 20-something guy to say that. Kodak, where I grew up in Rochester, it was the biggest company in America, one of the biggest in America, on the Dow, you know, the Dow 30 for years. And they did film pictures. And when digital came, they didn't innovate. They thought it was a fad. And then they went bankrupt and destroyed this billion-dollar company, right? But this MBA program was like, that was one of their big case studies. And my friend, who's also from Rochester, was like, what? Why are we studying this epic failure to innovate? But this is what the type of stuff you get. You have no idea how bad the information you're getting is. So anyway, back to you, Florian. Yeah. I'm sorry. I have to contain myself, but tell us more about your actual experience. You know, you're proving a lot of the things that I say in my videos. So keep going.
No, yeah. For me, like they'll say there's digital marketing. They'll teach you that yes, companies are doing it, but again, you're not doing anything. You're just saying, okay, well, there is digital marketing, and you're not actually doing anything. And yeah, so again, those are like the basic courses, and then you get more to your major courses. So we have concentrations. So I did the entrepreneurship concentration, and these are just classes that they cover all different kinds of things, because as an entrepreneur, you have to know a lot of things, right? So there's finance, entrepreneurial finance, there's, you know, marketing, right? Another marketing class. There is managerial accounting is another one. So, I mean, but for most of this stuff, like you can just look up on Google how to do like almost everything they teach you, which is, to me, is kind of crazy. And this is my 3rd year in, right? So I'm I'm looking at these classes and I'm like, I could look this stuff up. Like, you know, if I want to go to Google, like, I don't have to be taking this class. Like, I could just look this stuff up, right? Like, you know, term sheets and deal structure for companies and like equity and you know, how to do some kind of marketing. Even though I wasn't actually doing marketing, I could look that up. And so accounting, right? Things do that for you. And yeah, so then that my third year was just more of that kind of stuff. And then finally, okay, now we get to the fourth year, and this is where we actually get a semblance of doing, okay? And keep in mind, you're a fourth year. You've gone through 4 years of school, and this is your, like, the pinnacle of your college education, right? The pinnacle, right? And, you know, after everything, you take a senior project, which is supposed to be the ultimate learn by doing, like the ultimate, like for us, it's required. And they're like, okay, we're going to give you hands-on experience, right? We're going to give you hands-on experience. You're going to work with a startup. You're going to do stuff for them, right? And so I did that. And I did that. The first part of my senior project was working with a startup. And again, the first thing one of the guys in my group did was he did the Facebook certification on Facebook. And right, so that's Facebook marketing. And what I did was I wrote a white paper for this guy's company, which was copywriting, which is what I was already doing for the past months, like 6 months. And the marketing senior project, this is actually even crazier. Like the biggest project, like the ultimate learn by doing project, was run ads for a local business.
Wow.
Like literally, you run Facebook ads or you manage the Instagram of a local business. And this is supposed to be your senior project of your final year of college. And also the students, they don't know what they're doing because they haven't learned about this stuff. And so you're just flailing, right? You're just flailing at the senior project. And guys, yes, you're learning by doing, but it's like, again, like you could have done this on day one with your course. Like you got to like think about this, like the pinnacle of the senior project in an esteemed institution is what you could have done day one of your course.
It's crazy, guys. This is like Kafka. This is like science fiction. It's really true. I mean, you've heard me rant about this, but it's really great to hear it from an actual student. Like you were like, I said the same thing about the Full Sail digital marketing program, which is supposedly like, oh, we're not going to just teach you all that fluff in business school. We're going to teach you digital marketing. They did the same thing. You wait 2 years before you get your hands-on experience. And literally everything I teach in the course, build a website, run ads. That's it. And I think it's hilarious that they will tell you to run ads and they have not taught you how to run the ads. So people are like, what? What are they doing? They're out there on Google trying to figure it out, trial and error. Literally, somebody just paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be told to do what I teach you to do in the course. It sounds so crazy. People don't believe it. It's like, you know, somebody, I think I don't talk so much about propaganda, but it's like, you know, the more outrageous the lie, the more people will believe it. And I'm like, yeah, like the idea that a school could be so terrible and still charge people $40,000 a year, whatever it is, it's like, people can't believe that the school would be that bad. They're like thinking they couldn't charge that much money. They couldn't give these degrees if they were that bad, but it's true, guys. You're hearing it from the horse's mouth. And I challenge you, if you're thinking of majoring in business, guys, find business majors. That's all I'm saying. Like, whether you listen to me or not, talk to Florian. I'm going to leave his LinkedIn below the video. Talk to other business majors and look for patterns. What I think you're going to find is that whether you majored in business in San Luis Obispo, where is it? Cal State, San Luis Obispo, UCLA, you know, an East Coast school, it's all the same. They're all built on very similar ways of approaching things and similar curriculums. And you know, it might take you a few times hearing this again and again to be like, wow, this is like, you're like Neo in the Matrix waking up. This is crazy. So okay. So then, you know, you've taken this through the pinnacle. Were your professors giving you any guidance on this?
On the project? I mean, you basically just had to figure it out, right? You just went on Google, you Googled stuff, you just gave your own ideas to the chiropractor. It was a chiropractor, and he knew nothing about marketing, about online marketing. We didn't really know much about it either. And so we were just kind of just flailing, doing whatever, right? Whatever.
Well, you knew more. I mean,
I did, yeah. Yeah. So I actually had a strategy behind what I wanted to do. Like I was going to retarget the warm website visitors because I already kind of knew about this stuff. But everybody else in our group was like,
they're clueless. And guys,
like,
if you're watching this, if you haven't seen my other interview with Florian, just, Florian took my course a few years ago. He obviously learned PPC, SEO. He got internships, part-time jobs while he was in college. He learned copywriting. He knew more than anyone in that marketing department and any of his classmates. But because like a lot, we'll talk about this in a second with your parents, because, your parents were like, you have to finish your degree, even though you're making money with these other skill sets. So you're bringing more insight, from what you learned in the course to, than any of your professors. I think it's so irresponsible. I can't believe that a college would take your tuition money and they wouldn't have a professor there that would be like, hey guys, I'm going to help you set up these campaigns. And I've done it. Like the professor, like what was his experience? What was his credentials? how was he teaching this course?
Well, okay. So for that senior project, the professor apparently did have experience with marketing, yes, again, older styles of marketing, newspaper, stuff like that. And he did that stuff, but in the project, he never really helped us set us up. He never really gave us any strategy to do, never taught us any strategy. It was just like, just take this and just run stuff. Like there's not really like
I can't let me just want you to repeat that, because I think, again, we've had some internet issues today, but like he had experience with, you said TV and newspapers.
Well, he had experience with older styles of marketing, like, newspaper, billboards, but he also had experience. But okay, he said he also had experience with digital. He said he had experience with that too. But
yeah, but
again,
what?
he said Facebook and Google, things like that. He said he did. But again, we never really got any guidance for anything for what to do. He just said, just do this. Like, you guys learned all this stuff before, just do it. But we really didn't, because again,
I mean, if I was telling people to give me $40,000 to teach something, I mean, can you imagine if I showed up and I was like, yeah, I did some billboard stuff back in the 80s and some, I did some TV ads and I've done Google, but here you go, guys, go run some ads. Yeah. You know how to do it.
Yeah.
You're
exactly.
millennials, you're Gen Zers, go.
Yeah. It was like that. Yeah. And also, the only digital marketing course that my college has is an elective that goes over paid search, like display. That's an elective. Like that's not even the main marketing course. And plus, it's probably all outdated anyway. Like, let's be honest. Like, the field moves so fast. There's no way they can update their curriculum every quarter for what's new, because it's moving so fast. Like even you can't keep up sometimes with what's going on. So there's no way they could. And I think the scariest thing is like, this is a college that brands itself and claims to be more hands-on than a lot of other colleges, which to me is even scarier, because I'm like, I can't imagine going to a college that is even like, does even way less than that,
So some of you guys might have seen, I made a little cartoon video that's kind of goofy with like an old guy teaching marketing. And he's like, well, now students, we're going to learn about billboard and newspapers. And the students are like, well, can you teach us about digital? And he's like, digital is a fad. And, you might've looked at that and thought, this is some goofy cartoon. Dude, literally, you just explained like this. I'm telling you, this is happening in every classroom. And again, you have to understand how colleges work, guys. Nobody's telling you this. Your parents aren't telling you this. Your teachers aren't. These professors get what's called tenure. Tenure is a concept that is not in any other industry. Tenure means when they hit a certain level, usually it's they publish a certain number of papers or whatever, the colleges go, you have a job for life. You can teach here until you die, and you don't ever have to approve anything ever again. You don't ever have to be evaluated on your performance. So some of these guys got tenure 10, 20 years ago, and they're just never going to be current. And this is exactly what you're describing to me. Anyone who's done newspaper and billboard stuff, dude, they shouldn't be teaching. Because it's like, it's gone. So anyway, we're talking about the marketing side of things, but then again, you majored in business and then you did a focus on entrepreneurship, which is like the idea that you pay a college $40,000 a year to learn entrepreneurship is so wacky. And tell us more about, I guess, the entrepreneurship focus. And like, again, finance, like what they're teaching you to like, try to be like Shark Tank or something, where like literally most entrepreneurs are starting their own business like from a computer now. You're not worried about, you're not trying to raise venture capital for $10 million. You're trying to get a small business off the ground, and they're, what are they teaching you in that concentration?
Yeah. So actually in entrepreneurship, they basically just teach you how to, start a business, how to get product market fit, just all this stuff, how to build a business. And some of it was actually pretty useful, because we have this Center for Entrepreneurship where there's actually some pretty big companies that come out of it. I think there was this one woman that, she raised over $1 million for her company that came out of that. And also someone that started at Cal Poly that did entrepreneurship and then sold me for like 200 million. So there are like people that come up that like build real companies from that, and that want to attract like venture capital. Like there's people like they train you to do that kind of stuff, that they want to build a business that attracts venture capital that could grow to something really big. So that's kind of what it's meant for. But then again,
what you wanted to do?
I didn't really necessarily want to build a company that would scale to like huge, I didn't want to build something where I would take on investor funding. Like I just wanted something I could start on my own, that I could bootstrap, that I could grow on my own time. And that's kind of just what I wanted. And I didn't want to build something like huge with investor money and like all this other stuff. Which,
let me ask you something else, because this is very important. Now, look, some of these colleges, the thing about a college like San Luis Obispo, what I really want to get into, and they never talk about, like Harvard, nobody ever actually like looks into the curriculum. But what happens is the most intelligent, driven, bright people go to these colleges and apply and say, please, please take my money and enroll me. You're obviously a very bright, intelligent guy. You're a good copywriter. Your college didn't give you any value or very little value. And it's good to hear that there was 1 or 2 practical courses among your 4 years.
Okay. So there was the one practical course from my entire time. It was an elective, by the way, was negotiation. Negotiation was the one practical course that I got that I could use.
That's awesome. And I'm glad there was one course in your entire career that was practical. But what I was trying to get at was the caliber of people that are drawn to a place sometimes give a false impression. So like a person who's going to actually have what it takes intellectually and creatively and energetically to, pitch investors and get a investment, that person more than likely would have been able to do that without whatever they learned in this class. The real question is, what was actually taught and how long did it take? And could they have got it through some direct seminar of some kind? Like literally, were they in an incubator? It's different than if it was like, hey, we spent 8 years training and developing this person, and now they're such a great, powerful leader. But was it like one class or like one semester where they were like, yeah, this is how you put together a proposal to a venture capitalist?
Well, it was kind of, so they have these classes that teach you about finance, like different like deal structure, like all this stuff. But they have this separate program called the Center for Entrepreneurship. And that's where you can like apply to like you can bring startup ideas, you can apply to get into it. It's like an incubator, and you kind of nurture your startup ideas. And it's kind of like what Y Combinator is. It's kind of like that, where they will take on companies and they'll kind of mentor you. Whether it fails or succeeds, it really depends. But usually like it's more kind of like that. So it's not really a class. It's more of like an activity on campus that you can do.
So but that sounds like very different from majoring in business.
No, the actual classes, again, the actual classes will not like go like that. You actually have to go to that activity. And that's on your own time. But the actual classes, you can learn that stuff 100% on your own. Like the actual classes you take will. Yes.
So the people you've mentioned and who did have some success, who raised some money or, sold a product, did they do that? They were part of the Center for entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So they were part of that center for entrepreneurship, and they went through all their like incubators, participated in all their events, kind of thing. They did like elevator pitches. So that was all outside of class, but the actual classes, again, that's not why they're successful.
Right. And so guys, if you're watching this, let's say you do want to be like what you're describing. Like, and by the way, do you know what these businesses were? Like, just quickly, like, was it like a product? Was it like a Shark Tank kind of pitch on like, hey, we got a new thing we were going to put in Target?
Yeah. So she was actually, so she was actually on Shark Tank. You can look her up. It's Haley Pavone. She started Passion Footwear, and she's actually on Shark Tank, and you can look at it. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. And then there's another company, I think they did, what was that? It was kind of like a food delivery kind of company, and they got acquired by a bigger company and somewhere else. But again, like,
if they got acquired, they must have already been operational. So
no, yeah. So but again, they kind of got help from that incubator, and again, yeah. So they pretty much all through that.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, so that's great. And you have to look at the thing is, guys, if you're these colleges are such a huge investment, guys, $40,000, $50,000 a year. And you could actually join an incubator or one of these types of things where you get some mentorship for a startup, if that's your goal, that's why there's all these,
100%.
These boot camps and things like that. Now there's these organizations that provide incubators distinct from the waste of the degree in terms of the financial waste and the time waste. Because someone like that, I guarantee you, the Haley and that food app, these types of people, guys, you have to understand, nobody is sitting, Mark Zuckerberg wasn't sitting there in class at Harvard like, wow, I'm getting my vision for Facebook and all that is coming from my classes. It has nothing, he dropped out. These classes are not causing the success. And so I'm inviting you to analyze these people would have been successful anyway. Someone that has that kind of drive is going to find a way. So there's a more efficient way to do it. Now, if you want to pay for that degree and then on the side, get the more valuable Center for Entrepreneurship thing, you can do that. But it just is such an inefficient way to do things. It just blows my mind. It blows my mind. Digital marketing is an elective. You're in a bureaucracy when you go to these colleges, and you've just, I trip over my words when I talk about this. It's so like crazy, and it's kind of it's frustrating because people look at me and they're like, oh, he's some kind of online course guy. He must be scamming people. And like, dude, I literally have hundreds of people who've gotten jobs from my course, and these colleges charge hundreds of times more what I do. And most students are like your classmates in your senior project that come out of school and they don't have a clue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they were even talking about, okay, this is even crazier. Like, so in my concentration, right, the entrepreneurship concentration, we were having a call with people that graduated that already kind of got jobs. And again, these are jobs, sales, like these are jobs like sales, like just jobs that, again, like, who needs a degree to do sales, right? Nobody. And they were talking about, for our concentration, they were saying, oh, I know it could be hard to find jobs for us. Like, we don't really have any specialized skills, like, let's say finance or accounting, like you have to be more specialized. But with entrepreneurship, they're like, yeah, like, we've heard it's harder to get jobs as an entrepreneurship major. And the professor's advice was like, well, just, yes, that, it can be, but you just got to focus on like your soft skills, and like, employers really appreciate that, the soft skill side of stuff. And I was like, I don't know if that's great advice. Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
So terrible, that advice. Obviously you want to have good soft skills, which, guys, if you're watching this, you don't know what that means. It means like your communication skills, leadership. Those are important skills. They're very important. But you're describing what most college students experience, why the real wage, and why this is why the Bureau of Labor Statistics doesn't include people under 25. Because if they did, they would include all of the broke college graduates who are not making any money because they don't have any real skills. And the advice you're getting is from a college professor who has been tenured and has never had to look for a job in 20 years. He's not able to give you good advice. And, you're basically like an art student. It sounds like it's like, hey, yeah, we studied, like me, I was a film. Hey, I studied film. I made a couple of shorts, or I studied painting and I made some paintings, but now I got to get a job working in an office, doing spreadsheets. And it's just sad because again, the school is posturing itself as being, helpful, and it's obviously not. And I think it's interesting that you said, like, yeah, what do I say, guys, in my book, Skip College for Success? College students get 3 kinds of jobs: sales, administrative, customer service. Unless you get specialized skills like Florian, and he's a copywriter or a digital marketer.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not to say, I mean, my school has college career fairs. And so, companies like Apple, bigger companies like the big 4 accounting firms will go there, and they will recruit from our school. And so, it's not unheard of that people will get jobs right out of college. That is like $60K a year. Like, people do that sometimes. Like, it's actually that uncommon, but then again, like it's very, it's still like, first of all, not everybody is going to get that. And then second of all, it's just sense.
Hey, buddy, you broke up.
Right?
Can you repeat what you were going to say? I don't know if it's your connection or mine. Can you just repeat that last part?
Yeah. So I'll just say this. So the thing is with these colleges, they actually have pretty big connections with some pretty big companies. And so what they will do is they'll have these career fairs, and these bigger companies will come and set up booths, and you can go and turn your resume into them, and they have job openings. And so, companies like Apple, and like all these different things. So that's what they love to tell you. Yeah. They
tell you that, but here's the thing, guys. First of all, you could get into those companies without the college, number one. Number two, you don't have a resume. There's hiring. Okay. If you are an accounting major, good for you. You can get a job at a good paying job. If you're an engineering major, you can potentially get a job. If you are a finance major and you're willing to work 100-hour weeks in a terrible industry, my opinion, as you've heard me interview my finance students who got out. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. And it's just like you have a shot. 99%, and you guys with your business majors, they're looking at you like, what skills do you have? You have nothing. Yeah. You don't know anything about modern business. Your professor is some moron who is talking about newspaper advertising. You've done one project that you don't know how to do. You have no experience, and you don't even have the knowledge or the skills of anything. So what are we going to hire you for? So I've talked with people at these fairs, like, what are they hiring for? It's like, hey, customer service, and you're like, then people can say, oh, I got a job at Apple thanks to my degree. What are you doing? I'm doing tech support on the phone. You're not doing like high level shit, or like you majored in business and you did some project where you go, yeah, if I was CFO or CTO of Apple, here's my new iPhone release ideas. And you show up at the job fair and you're like, I really have a vision for Apple's future. And they're like, great. Can you get coffee and can you answer phones? That's what we're hiring for. So these college, it's all, guys, you're in the world of bureaucracy and like posturing. So they're a big university, so they're going to get a big company coming in. And they're thinking, yeah, we want a bright college kid to work for us at the lowest level.
Again, at the lowest level. And again, like, there's a very, very small chance you're going to get these jobs. Like at these top companies like Apple, the big 4 accounting firms, like it's just like out of all the students, they maybe have like 20, 40 openings, maybe. And so like, it's just really, you have a really small shot at getting any of these big jobs, right? With these big companies. Well, not big jobs, but like getting with any of these big companies, even though you're at the school, right? So your chances, even if you're, at the school, is very low to get into these companies right out of college. It's very low.
It's pretty crazy to think about this. Like, you're basically paying $100,000 to get a small shot at getting an entry-level position at a company you could have gotten without going to the school. And then you have students of mine, you've seen like, students who've worked big brands like Netflix and Subway and Hilton Hotels, or big agencies, who don't have a degree at all. And it's because, companies want results. But I think it is really like, you're competing with all those other students now. at the job fair. You're like, yeah, I got my degree. I did all my nonsense stuff. And now I'm submitting my application and I have to compete against all these other people. And then it's just luck of the draw at that point. A lot of times.
And there's more and more of these business people with business degrees or business students. And so you're just more at a disadvantage the longer this goes on, because the companies have more and more choices to pick from. And so your chances of actually getting the job goes, it gets smaller and smaller because, more people have a degree and they can choose from more people. And so your chances go down,
And this is the funniest thing is they still tell young people that you get a degree to quote unquote stand out. Like literally it's in part of the indoctrination. Guys, why do I make all these stupid videos about this topic? I'm in my 40s. I don't have kids. Like I have no stake in the game. And when I have kids, or if I have kids, I'm never going to worry about it because I'm not paying whatever $200,000, whatever tuition will be for that. It's because I remember what it was like being lied to in school. And I hate that. I think it's like crazy. Like literally they're like, this is how you stand out. I'm like, dude, now everyone has a degree, a worthless degree with what you described, theoretical classes and no value to offer. And there's now 100 other people like that. That's why my students come in with no degree and they get hired because they're like, whoa, we've never met anyone like you that actually knows marketing and you don't have a degree, but who cares? So we're going to wrap this up, but I want to kind of ask you, like, I appreciate you sharing all this with people. And, first of all, can people reach out to you on LinkedIn with questions if they have questions about this?
Yeah, of course. If, just say you watch Seth's video or this video and just tell me, if you have any questions, just let me know.
Awesome. And then what would you say? I mean, we kind of know the answer, but like, what would you say to somebody who's like, oh, I was going to major in business, but now it doesn't seem like such a good idea. What would you do instead? And I think, what would you do instead, Florian? What would you have done if your parents weren't, I forgot, we didn't really talk about the experience with your parents of like, right. So we'll talk for a couple more minutes because, I don't plan these out. Basically, why did you stay in school in this major that you knew was not providing value?
Yeah, sure. There's a very specific reason, and it's because of my situation with my parents. And so I already knew that I didn't want to do engineering, and the only thing I would ever be interested in is marketing and business and entrepreneurship. That was the only thing I had interest in. And I knew I could do that, from not going to school for that. And like I could do your course and get a job because I saw it was possible. And I could just, entrepreneurship, what better way to do entrepreneurship than actually do it, and not, have a paper for it, So it didn't make much sense to me. But again, my parents, they made a agreement with me saying, hey, like, as long as you finish the degree, we'll support you financially. But if you don't finish the degree, we will not support you.
Right. And I basically
in that way, yeah.
I'm sorry. I just want to jump in on that because I know
yeah.
I'm sorry. Finish your thought and then I will piggyback on what you're saying.
Yeah. And so in that way, that's why I stayed, because of the fear of not being financially supported and not having a job right at that moment if I dropped out.
Yeah, guys. So I'm going to do a whole other video on this. This is, I believe it's emotional extortion. Like, parents, obviously I believe in tough love and no BS advice. And I think if a parent is like, hey, listen, you need to be an adult, you need to get a job, we're going to support you as long as you're working. That's fair. But to tell somebody they need to stay in school or they'll drop your financial support is unfair because you've spent the last 20 years of your life in school. You don't have any practical skills. You've never paid rent. You don't even know how to support yourself. And they're literally like, hey, we're going to throw you out of the lifeboat if you don't stay in school. So I can totally understand why you'd be afraid of that. I would have been too if I didn't, again, you're learning such nonsense in school. And if you guys are in that situation, like you're not alone, and understand you do have options. So some of my students, like Morgan, she was very courageous, I think. And she basically was like, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And if you guys want to cut me off emotionally or financially, that's fine because it's my life. And she went through, and people get jobs and they get apartments and they get away from their families, if that's the case, rather than being pressured into this thing. And I can totally also understand where you would stay because you can learn these skills on the side while you're doing your worthless major. So, but I don't think it's right for a parent. Like if the parent said to you, listen, you got to get a job, I would support that. But
No,
some of you guys,
it wasn't like that. Yeah.
it's so crazy.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Cause they're like, oh, we don't care, you know, that you're making money. Now, the worst thing, what I'll tell you this, if you're watching this, is that if they're making you take out loans, if there's a, hey, we're not going to pay for your rent or your house anymore, and you have to stay in school. In Florian's case, his parents were paying for college, so that's different. But if they're like making you take out those loans and go into debt, I would get out. You know, that is like really unhealthy situation.
No, and I was about to say, like, if I had loans for this, and you know, and that was the situation, I wouldn't have cared. I would have dropped out immediately if I had loans, because at that point you're just damaging my future. Like, there's no way, you know, it's damaging my future to stay in this, like, because it's coming out of my own future earnings. Like, I'm not going to do this to myself. Like, I would have dropped out like that if I had loans, definitely.
Absolutely. I'm sure you would have. Yeah. So cool, guys. So I hope that's helpful if you're watching and you're in that situation. And again, you can ask Florian, or you can always reach out to me with questions about this. I really like helping college students. What advice would you give to somebody who has an interest in business or entrepreneurship or marketing? Rather than majoring in business, what course or training would you recommend them to take?
Well, obviously your course, Seth. It's the best course that I know of for getting a digital marketing job, and the quickest. And I would just say, really think about it. If you're someone who is just about to go into college and you don't really know what you want to do, but you know that you don't want to be an engineer, you don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a scientist or anything like that. If you have some interest in that and you want to go into those fields, then yes, I would recommend going to college. But if you're someone who really like has no interest in any of that stuff and just really likes business and marketing, look, like, the best thing you can do is put yourself ahead of the competition and just learn the skills right now before everybody else, you know, finds out the harsh truth after they graduate. So the best thing you can do is just get Seth's course, learn the digital marketing skills in a few months, get experience right away, and just set yourself on that path. Because, you know, let's face it, like, if you're graduating high school and you do that right out of high school and you get an internship within your first few months, you know, and then you get an entry-level job, in 4 years, you're going to be making at least, you know, 4 years experience in this in-demand field. You're going to be making at least 6 figures, like at least, like, definitely. And then your peers graduating college, they'll be starting from zero and they'll probably have loans and they'll be way behind. And you're probably going to be the one hiring them, or you probably won't hire them because they won't have any experience. So again, you're just going to be way further ahead than everybody else if you just learn the skills.
Dude, that was perfect. I mean, I couldn't have said it. I'm not going to even repeat what you said because you said it so perfectly. You said every point I want to make. I think you should listen to what Florian has to say. Again, guys, you can always ask him or any of my other students. You don't even have to talk to me if you don't want to. Obviously, I'm going to say take the course. But again, guys, it's only because I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years. And I wrote a book also called Skip College for Success. I would definitely check that out if you're considering college, just because obviously I have a strong opinion, but I get into very detailed statistics about the misleading statistics that are used to manipulate people into thinking college is a valuable investment, when clearly, as you can hear from Florian in detail, this was not. It was obviously, you know, something he had to deal with while he was learning actual valuable skills. But anyway, man, thanks for being here. You really articulated everything very well. I think your story will be helpful to a lot of people. I'm putting Florian's LinkedIn below the video so you can reach out to him. You guys can always hit me up also, you know, through email or here on YouTube. And yeah, I'm going to do more videos. If you have a comment or feedback, post it below. And if you have a major or something you want me to interview someone about, post that too. I want to make more of these videos. So anyway, man, thanks for being here, Florian. It was great to talk to you, and we will talk soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.